A very good afternoon, dear students, and welcome back to Agrawal Vidya Vihar English Medium College Digital Classroom. This is Professor Shaurya Shah teaching you Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. I welcome all of you. Dear students, in the last lecture, we had studied the liquidation sum particularly related to your VNSGU 2016 as you can see on your screen. I suppose everyone is now clear with the long sum and the sums which we solved. Fine. Now today we'll be solving two short sums as I have already given you the questions in Google Classroom. We'll be solving it and then we'll be moving on to one long sum of VNSGU 2018. I suppose you will be having the question of VNSGU 2019. You can also see it on your screen, students. We have solved one of this kind in our earlier lectures also. So what is the sum all about? It is VNSGU 2019. It is for 3 marks basically. What is the sum all about, students? I hope you all must be remembering the concept of liquidators remuneration. Fine. So we'll be seeing it. What is the sum? At the time of liquidation of the company, unsecured creditors were 92,400, right? Now this is just the short sum, so we need to calculate only the liquidators remuneration, students. Fine. So what is it? Unsecured creditors were 92,400. What is the balance which is left with liquidator? That is 76,500, right? So liquidator is entitled to get a remuneration of 2%. Now the problem is the total amount is more to be paid and the balance left out is less, that is 76,500. So what you need to do is, the simple logic behind this is you need to pay to liquidators remuneration also and you need to pay to unsecured creditors also. So both is to be paid from 76500 only, right? So such kind of sums every year it is repeated in university. Very simple logic behind it is you need to just remember one equation, right? So I hope everyone is ready with the pen and paper and calculator. Fine, we'll be starting. What you need to do, students, is simply you need to prepare one equation for that particular thing, right? What you need to write first, write down liquidators remuneration. Liquidators remuneration is equals to, right? Liquidators remuneration is equals to, now always remember the amount which is left out with the liquidator. So if I say what is the total amount supposed to be paid, 100, again liquidators remuneration is 2%, so 2 rupees on 100, so it is 102. So 102 we are having in balance is 76,500. So what will be my liquidators remuneration of 2, right? Simple equation you need to understand. If 102, always remember this equation, if 102 is the total amount, then how much 2 will be, right? So we'll be putting up in the equation, if I put 2 into 76,500 divided by 102 gives me the answer of 1500 rupees if you calculate, right? So what is my liquidators remuneration? My liquidators remuneration is 1500 rupees, right? This is the first answer which is asked in the sum that you need to solve. After solving this, you will be easily getting the amount paid to unsecured creditors, right? Amount which is paid to unsecured creditors is equals to, total balance I am having is 76,500 minus 1500 rupees, that is liquidators remuneration. So the balance amount will be paid to unsecured creditors, that is 75,000 rupees, right? So these are the two answers which are asked for 3 marks or 4 marks in your exam that you need to solve, right? Very simple example you will take, the amount will differ but the pattern will remain the same. So what you need to do is always plus the percentage of liquidators remuneration in 100 and take the equation. For example, if it is 5%, then it will become 105 is equals to balance, then 5 is equals to how much? I suppose everyone is clear with this sum. So this was your VNSGU 2019. One more sum of similar type I have given you, that is VNSGU 2018. Fine. I suppose everyone is clear with this part. we'll be moving on to the next sum, students. That is your VNSGU 2018. Same type, same, you can solve it again simultaneously. This is your question number 4 of our set, VNSGU 2018. What is the question all about? As you can see, after making the payment to the debenture holders, the liquidator has a balance of 2,58,060 on his hand. Unsecured creditors are of 3,50,000. So here the amount is changed to 350 and the balance is 258,060. Now the liquidator is entitled to a 2% commission on amount paid to unsecured creditors, right? Again our equation will remain the same, 100 plus 2. Calculate the liquidator's remuneration and amount paid to unsecured creditors. Fine. So I suppose everyone is clear with this part. Same sum, same pattern will be following. This is your VNSGU 2018. Same equation I will write. Liquidator's remuneration is equals to, here also it is 2%, so 100 plus 2 is equals to 102. Now always remember, you need to compare the equation of 102 with the balance amount which the liquidator is having, right? So how much is the balance amount? As you can see in the sum, that is 2,58,060. So if 102 is 2,58,060, how much will be 2, right? So what I'll do is simply I will again put up in the equation like your previous sum, 2 into 2,58,060 divided by 102, right? So I'll get the answer, if you solve it, 5060 rupees. What is 5060 rupees, students? It is your liquidator's remuneration. Now you have been asked two things like your previous sum. One is liquidator's remuneration and the second is amount paid to unsecured creditors, right? So again I'll write down unsecured creditors is equals to balance amount 258,060 minus liquidator's remuneration 5060. So what I'll get is amount of rupees 2,53,000. That is my liquidator's remuneration and the amount of unsecured creditors. I suppose every student is clear with that part. This compulsory comes in your exam, only the figure changes, the pattern remains the same, right? So you should be very much clear with this amount. 102, if it is 2, what is the total amount? Fine. I suppose it is clear. Fine. Now the next sum, that is the long sum which we'll be doing, which I have already given you again in Google Classroom. Fine. I hope everyone is clear with this part. Fine. I'll give you 1 minute to complete your sum. Just go through the sum once again, students. Be very much clear with each sum which we are doing. All the university sums we are practicing, so that you can be very much clear with the paper itself. Okay, fine. I suppose it is clear to each and everyone. Fine. Now starting with the long sum, you must prepare one long sum format, that is receipt rupees, payments rupees, the liquidator statement we are preparing. So before starting the sum, you should be ready with the format itself very much in advance. Fine. Now the sum which I have given to you, that is VNSGU 2018, right? Question number 2, that is White Limited went into liquidation. Now again, basically this is not a full-fledged sum of 14 marks, students. It is your 7 mark sum, but the concept remains the same. You need to remember the preference of payment which we are following. Again, quickly revising before starting the sum. What we write down on the receipt side, we write down first the cash balance. After the cash balance, we write down the assets realized by the liquidator, right? So what do? We realize the assets, whatever new value is being given, After that, if any surplus comes, and after that, if any calls are received from the liquidator or from the equity shareholders, we can say, right? On the payment side, the very first thing you write down here is your secured creditors. After secured creditors, you write down your liquidators expenses or liquidators remuneration. Then students, you write down various kinds of preferential creditors, right? I suppose. Fine. Then so on and so far. You write down debenture holders, you write down unsecured creditors, and then you write down finally the capital which you are having. I hope it is clear, everyone. Fine. Now starting with the sum, as usual, first we'll be discussing the sum, then we'll be starting with the entire long sum. I suppose everyone is having the sum with you. Fine. Share capital. First of all, the company went into liquidation on 31st March 2018. Share capital is divided into one part only, that is equity share capital, 19,500 shares at 10 rupees each. So it is 1,95,000. Second is your reserves and surplus. Under that, debit balance of P&L, fine. Then you have been having current liabilities. Under current liabilities, you have been having various creditors that we will divide, right? So first is bank overdraft, 12,000. Preferential creditors directly given, 24,200. Partly secured creditors, right? Remember, the word is not complete secured, it is partly secured creditors. So we'll see if any adjustment is given for that. And the last is unsecured creditors. I suppose it is clear to every student. Fine. Now starting with the second part of the sum, what is it all about? You have been given assets. Under assets, the very first is your leasehold property, 48,000. Next is your plant and machinery, 55,000. Then you have been given the furniture, 10,000. Okay, goodwill is given. Keep in mind, goodwill is also given. Then current assets, stock, trade receivable, cash and cash equivalents, right? What is most important in liquidator sum is your liability side, because you need to do the bifurcation. Assets are directly written on the receipt side. Fine. Now what are the adjustments which are given? Liquidator realize the assets. Now what did he realize? Leasehold property which we used to pay, which was used to pay the partly secured creditors, right? So again, in the last sum also we saw that there was again a bank loan which was mortgage against furniture. So we sold the furniture and we paid the bank loan, right? So here also the same thing. You are been having partly secured creditors which were paid from the leasehold property. So we will solve it when we see. Plant and machinery, new value is given, furniture, stock, trade receivables and cash in. Fine. What is most important is the adjustment. The expenses of liquidation amounted to 1,000. Okay, we'll directly write on the payment side. And the next is your liquidator's remuneration was agreed at 2.5%. Right? On what? On amount realized including cash. Right? In the last sum we saw, students, that cash was not included. But here you need to pay the cash amount also. On that you need to pay the liquidator's remuneration. Fine. And the next is your 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Only unsecured. In the last sum, we paid 5 types of liquidators remuneration. Fine. So I suppose it is again a half sum only that we are going to complete it. Fine. Now starting with the very first thing. As usual, we will start with the receipt side. So on the debit side, that is receipt side, first of all, please write down to cash balance, to cash balance. Write down the amount which is there in the balance sheet, that is in adjustment it is given 2500, right? 2500 to cash balance. Next thing is we will always write down to assets realized, right? What are the amount of assets realized? To assets realized. Under assets realized, you can see it in the adjustments what amount are given. The very first you are being given is your, we can say, plant and machinery, 45,000. So write down plant and machinery 45,000. I'll write down in the inner column so that it will be easy for you to do the total and write it in outer column. Plant and machinery 45,000. Next you are being given in adjustment is furniture. So furniture is 6,000. I will again write down furniture 6,000. Step by step, students, you need to follow. The entire sum is very easy. Furniture Next is you have been given is stock. How much is stock? Stock is 39,000 rupees. Stock 39,000 on the receipt side. I suppose it is clear to everyone. And the last thing they have given is trade receivable 58500. So I'll write down trade receivables 58500. Trade receivables 58500. So what I have done is I have written every assets which are realized by the liquidator on the receipt side. Fine. I suppose it is clear. Now the question arises is for leasehold property, right? What do you do for your leasehold property? But if you can see, students, in the asset side, if you see the leasehold property, the amount they have given is 48,000 rupees, right? So from this 48,000, it is paid to partly secured creditors. So when we make the payment to partly secured creditors, we will see after this. Fine. So again, no information is given that any surplus left out from leasehold property is given to the liquidator. No, nothing is given. So we'll not calculate that part. I suppose it is clear. Fine. Do the total of the entire receipt side of your assets realized. You will get the total of rupees, I suppose, 1,48,500 is the total, and do the total of the receipt side itself because there is nothing new which is going to come on the receipt side. So do the total of that also. Your total, students, will come to 1,51,000 rupees. Your total will come to 1,51,000 rupees. Is it clear, everyone? Fine. Now if you can see on the asset side, there is one information that is given related to your goodwill. What is your goodwill? Goodwill is 50,000 rupees. But here, taking into account, students, as no information is given for goodwill in the adjustment, the value of goodwill we will consider is 0, right? So 50,000 rupees goodwill will be considered as valueless. So no amount is received. We will not consider goodwill in that. Fine. Now quickly starting with the payment side. The very first thing we do on the payment side is by liquidation expenses, right? So by liquidation expenses directly, which is given in the sum, I'll write down by liquidation expenses. What is by liquidation expenses? That is given in adjustment. You can see 1,000 rupees is the liquidation expenses. So I'll write down by liquidation expenses 1,000. The second thing after we pay liquidation expenses is by liquidators remuneration. So we will write down by liquidators remuneration. Liquidators remuneration is to be paid to two people, students. Amongst that, the very first is your 2.5% on amount realized, right? So what I'll do is I'll write down 2.5% on amount realized. Now this amount, as you have already studied in the adjustment, this amount includes your cash also, right? So what I have to pay is I have to pay on the entire amount, right? So what I'll do is 2.5% on amount realized, that is 1,51,000 into 2.5%. And the second thing which I told is of leasehold property, right? So what is the balance of leasehold property also will pay it on him. So 2.5% on amount realized, that is related to leasehold property. So what is the balance of leasehold property you have got is 48,000 minus, we can say, the leasehold property amount, that is unsecured creditors, 35,000. So 13,000 is the additional amount that you have paid. Okay, so what we will take is leasehold property, that is 35,000 is the realized amount, right? So what I'll do is again 2.5% on 35,000 rupees also. So if you see, in all, students, we will pay the entire liquidator's remuneration on the amount of 1,86,000, right? Again repeating, amount realized includes everything, right? So 35,000 of leasehold property which you have paid to partly secured creditors is also kind of amount realized only. So what I'll do is 1,51,000 plus 35,000. So on 1,86,000 total, I'll pay 2.5%. So if you calculate the amount, your amount will come to 4650 rupees, right? So I hope everyone is clear with this part of liquidators remuneration. Fine. Now moving on to the second part, that is 2% is to be paid on the amount paid to unsecured creditors, right? So what I'll do is I'll simply write down 2% on unsecured creditors. As I don't know the amount, right, I'll just keep it blank. I will first pay to the various preferential creditors and then we will pay to unsecured creditors, right? So what you need to do is by, first of all, write down by preferential creditors, by preferential creditors. Preferential creditors, you can see from your balance sheet how much they are. Preferential creditors are 24,200, which is given in the balance sheet, right? So we'll write down directly by preferential creditors 24,200. Now after you pay to your preferential creditors, you pay to debenture holder. But in this sum, no debenture holders are given. So what we'll do is we'll directly pay to unsecured creditors. So by unsecured creditors, by unsecured creditors. Now what amount will be paid to unsecured creditors, right? In every sum we were knowing that we are having a surplus balance, so we are going to pay to everyone. But in this sum, as such, the receipt is very less, 1,51,000, right? So you need to first calculate the actual amount which the liquidator is having in hand to pay the unsecured creditors, right? So what we'll do is we'll first calculate the amount to be paid to unsecured creditors. Fine. If you can find it, I'll give you 30 seconds. Just calculate the amount which is remaining for unsecured creditors. Remember students, we need to pay to liquidators remuneration also out of that, right? So again, we'll be solving it. 30 seconds if you can calculate. Fine students, right? So we need to calculate, first of all, we need to do a working. Once your sum is completed, right, just leave 5-6 lines for that and start with the working of your sum basically, right? What is it all about? You need to calculate the amount of unsecured creditors, right? So please write down in your working total amount of unsecured creditors, total amount of unsecured creditors. How much will be total amount of unsecured creditors? As you can see on your liability side, what type of creditors are given, right? The very first thing is bank overdraft. So what you will do is on the liability side, you will write down first of all bank OD, bank overdraft 12,000 rupees. So I'll write down bank overdraft 12,000 rupees. The second they have given is preferential creditors that we have already paid, right? We have already paid 24,200. Next they have given is partly secured creditors 55,310. 55,310. Now as you can see students, in the adjustment it is given that the leasehold property was used to pay partly secured creditors. So what amount of leasehold property was used to pay? 35,000. So the remaining amount of partly secured creditors is, we can say, unsecured creditors, right? So again write down here partly unsecured creditors. Partly unsecured creditors will give me the amount of total was 55,310 minus 35,000 I have paid from your leasehold property. So the balance amount will be your unsecured creditors, right? So what is the balance amount? If you deduct it from 55,310, your balance amount is 20,310, right? So that is my balance amount of partly secured creditors. And the last thing in the liability side they have given is which type of creditors, that is your unsecured creditors, which is given directly, right? So what is the amount of unsecured creditors directly given? It is 99,790. So I'll write down 99,710 is my unsecured creditors, which is given in the balance sheet, right? I suppose this all are your forms part of your working, which is very much important to do in your exam, from where you are getting the amount. So you will be getting, if I total it out, I'll be getting 1,32,100 rupees. This is the total which I need to pay to the unsecured creditors. Remember students, we are having only 1,51,000 in hand. From there, we have already paid 1,000 rupees, we have already paid 4650, and we have already paid 24200. From this, we need to pay to liquidators remuneration also, and we need to pay to the creditors also. I hope it is clear, everyone. Fine. Okay. So what you need to do is, now by unsecured creditors, you need to first find out the amount which you are having on your hand, right? What amount you are having. So what you will do is, you will deduct from receipt side. How much is receipt side? 1,51,000 rupees. From 1,51,000, first of all, you have paid 4650. From that, you have also paid 1,000 rupees liquidators expenses. Again, you have paid 24,200, right? So the balance amount which you will find from this, you can calculate what is the balance amount you are having. 1,51,000 minus 4650 minus 1,000 minus 24,200, right? So what short sum we had done was actually related to this. Now you need to pay to unsecured creditors also, and then you need to pay to your liquidators remuneration also, that is 2%, right? So what I'll do is, I'll find out the balance amount, that is 121,150. I suppose it is clear to everyone. That is 1,51,000 minus 4650 minus 1,000 minus 24,200. So 121,150, right? I suppose it is clear. So what amount of liquidators remuneration I'll find out? What amount of liquidators remuneration I'll find out is 2850, right? So 2% on unsecured creditors is 2850. You can find out from the same formula, right? Same formula itself, what we did in the short sum. So the remaining amount which I am having is 118,300. That will be actually paid to unsecured creditors. This is most important, students. From here, many a times many students commits the mistake, so you need to be very careful regarding the amount. So if I do the total, my total will come to again 1,51,000 rupees. 1,51,000 rupees. So this, calculating the part, the balance which you are having after deducting, from that you need to calculate. If my 102 is this much, then 2 will be how much? Is it clear? So you need to take one note here, that after unsecured creditors are paid, as you don't have the enough money to pay to equity and preference shareholders, this will be the last portion which are paid after payment to liquidators remuneration. I hope it is clear to everyone, right? Again, repeating the sum, what we have done, we have first written the cash balance on the debit side, that is receipt side. Then we have written the assets realized. Why leasehold property is not written? Because leasehold property is paid against the secured creditors for a value of 35,000, right? Again, goodwill is not taken because no information is given, so goodwill will become valueless. Fine. Again, on the payment side, liquidators expenses are written, that is 1000. Liquidators remuneration we have calculated, right? This is the head under which we have calculated under two parts, 2.5% on amount realized and 2.5%, that is 2% on unsecured creditors. Then we have paid preferential creditors. Then unsecured creditors, we have done the calculation also for unsecured creditors. One is your bank OD, second is your partly unsecured. Why? Because out of total only 35,000 is paid to them, and then we have paid the actual unsecured creditors. So total I have got is 132,100, but out of that total I have only certain amount left. So what you will do is at the end you will find out the receipt minus payment, and then you will be getting the actual answer. So whatever amount is left out is having two things. One is liquidator's remuneration, and the second is your actual amount to be paid to unsecured creditors. So that you will calculate. I suppose it is clear. I hope everyone is clear with the short sums also. This sum is also your BNSGU 2018. The sum's name is White Limited. Question number 2, right? As I have already given the question, once the sum is completed, lecture is completed, whenever you get spare time, do solve the sum once again on your own so that the points are clear with you. I suppose everyone is clear with the sum, students? Fine. All the sums which we are doing are university sums, so same type of sums are repeated in exams and the figures are only changed. One or two pattern may also change. Fine. Any doubts, any queries, you can put up in Google Classroom. We are there to help you out. Fine. So I suppose this is enough for today's lecture, students. We'll meet soon in the next lecture. This is Professor Shaurya Shah teaching you Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. Thank you for your attention. Take care. See you in the next lecture.